I don't understand why no one is talking about this. Before I gave birth to my baby, I was researching all the postpartum essentials and I found such an abundance of information over products, tips to survive the first few weeks. However, in real life experience, the overall well-being of a new mother goes so far beyond just the first few weeks or physical recovery. My name is Tian, welcome to my channel. This is where I talk about my thoughts and experiences with motherhood. If this is your first time, don't forget to subscribe. I'll share with you my example of practical ways that helps me rediscover a balance I needed to thrive as a new mother. The first lesson I learned is learning to accept that things will never be the same. It's easier said than done, but as new moms, there's just so many rediscovering to do. We have to figure out a new balance in our marriage, in our career, / whatever we find our self-worth in, social life, body image, just to name a few. It's so hard, but what turned it from hard to devastating for me is to live for the illusion that if I try hard enough, I'll be able to get back to the life of pre-baby Tian. So pre-baby Tian is a very goal-oriented person who loves checklists and timeline, and not very good at being flexible at all. I enjoy being productive and build a lot of my self-worth on the things I could accomplish. Zion's existence totally rocked my world and decentralized me from my own world. So my response is I kept trying to gain back some control and get back to the regular routine that I was familiar with. It only resulted in over-obsession with things that I feel like I must control. Things like my baby's nap schedule, or every health issue that arose, every feeding issue, and all of that was met with strong resistance because that's just not how the life of a mother works. So I finally decided to stop. I decided to stop trying to get back to the pre-baby life or continuing my unhealthy ways to compensate for the lack of control that I felt as a new mother. That hard stop that I put forth started such a good domino effect in my life. I began turning the corner from postpartum depression and anxiety to starting to enjoy being Zion's mother. I still wrestle from time to time, but the general trend is definitely up and up. It saved my sanity, my marriage, my relationship with my baby, everything. And that's when I started to learn to discover my worth in Christ alone and not in the things I could accomplish. If not because of becoming a mom, I honestly don't know how long it's gonna take for me to start enjoying the freedom and the joy of just going with the flow of life a little bit. You know, learning to be flexible and accepting where I find myself, learning to trust God and not live out of insecurities. All of these are such nourishment to my soul, and I do not want to get back to pre-baby Tia now. But it is a process. It is a process to mourn and grieve and accept the fact that things are not going to be the same again. You know how we make fun of mama brains? Well, I stopped making fun of it after I've learned this. There is an anthropological term called matrescence. I always struggle with pronouncing this word. Let me know in the comments if I pronounce this incorrectly and how to actually pronounce it right. Basically, it's the process of becoming a mother. It's considered an actual developmental stage that consists of physical, emotional, and psychological evolution. And it can take up to 3 years. 3 years for the dust to settle after the baby drops into your arm and rock your world. And mama brain is only the superficial manifestation of all the things that are happening underneath when your brain is rewiring from pre-baby you to the new mama you. It is an absolute magnificent and fear-inspiring process, but internal and external turmoils are definitely expected. I really wish that I had given myself more grace and just allowing time to do what only time can do. Given a year, I am so much more at ease with my new identity as a mother. And once I began to enjoy being Zion's mother, the workload of taking care of the baby did not get lighter, but I feel happier. Like truly, from a deep place in my heart, I feel so much joy and fulfillment watching him grow, taking care of him, but it takes time. I can't say that I'm truly settled, but I am so much better at catching myself when I'm growing frustrated or resentful because I can't get things done the way I want to. Despite what I feel, I choose to do what is right. And for me, what is right is that I choose relationship over things. I choose my relationship with my baby instead of the things I can get done. because I believe that relationship has eternal values, has generational values. The chores can wait. If the chores are not done, it's okay. I don't want chores done at the expense of my relationship with my family. That mindset is a muscle that I need to work up, and it takes time. Only time can do it. The third lesson I learned, getting into the nitty-gritty, is building rituals and not schedules. So I have always had schedules before having a baby. It's a habit that works so well for me in my career as well as in life. And I was not good at being flexible at all. And trying to go back to scheduling after having a child drove me crazy. It's just impossible with young kids. However, once I began to move on from scheduling to building routines, wow, how much it helps me thrive. It took me months of experimentation to find something that works for me. Basically, I plan everything around one element, and that is the focus on finding rest. Over time, I learned what kind of pace leads to burnout for me, and I must give up wanting to achieve more for a more balanced and sustainable pace. So what does it look like practically? It breaks down to two parts. There is a weekly ritual and there is a daily ritual. When I plan my week, I swear by high gear days and low gear days. What it does is that it mimics the rhythm at which a lot of top athletes train their body. They have on days and they have off days. This helps me balance my energy level throughout the week. So instead of planning my weeks to have responsibilities spread it out evenly across all the days of the week, I plan more on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I plan for less. Saturday is family day, so my husband Chris, Zion, and I would go do something fun and intentional. It usually is pretty exhausting. So on Sunday, we have, for our family, a sabbatical. It's not anything religious, it's just a day where we intentionally put aside work and enjoy life. For me, it looks like doing absolute minimum chores. So I don't do any regular chores like laundry or floor care. I do the absolute minimum that I need to get by the day. Things like changing Zion's diaper, feeding him, loading the dishwasher, just not working to the degree that I would at any other day of the week. This rhythm broke a vicious cycle of me being really tired at the end of the day, and the next day being even more tired trying to catch up on the things I did not get to do the last day. It was horrible. But once I was able to have this on and off rhythm, I feel so much more rested overall throughout the week. I may be having very exhausting days, but I have days to catch up. And I have days to make room for creativity because spontaneous things always come up. If any unplanned events or responsibilities pop up, or if you just want to go do something nice for your neighbor or talk to an old friend over the phone, you don't feel like you are going to have to catch up on a lot of things if you have this on and off rhythm. Another vital part of my weekly ritual is a marriage check-in / family meeting. I highly recommend this to any new parents or just couples in general because at the top of our Notion family meeting template, there's a quote that says, "The single biggest problem of communication is the illusion that it has taken place." So in this meeting, Chris and I will not just talk about logistics, but also we'll talk about how life is going for us individually and collectively. You have no idea the amount of silly fights that this marriage meeting saves us from. Going into a little bit of details, we will talk about priorities of a week for each of us and appointments as well because we have one cars and we can't afford to have scheduling conflicts. And it also helps us understand each other's pace going into the week. As we celebrate wins, we also talk about better ways we can serve each other in the coming week. We reflect on our intimacy, both physical and emotional. We'll talk about any unresolved emotions, and if we don't have time to talk about it in this particular meeting, we'll make time next week or in the coming weeks to talk about that. It is so easy for marriage to take the back seat when the baby comes along and you're just trying to figure out how things are going to work again. But I always try to go back to this one truth of how much our marriage is going to serve our children in the long run. It is worth fighting for. It is absolutely a priority. And I know it can seem a little bit unromantic to do a sit-down meeting as a couple. In fact, it makes more room for romance for us because you can get all the boring stuff and the structural stuff out of the way, and you have so much room for romantic moments in your daily lives, because then you don't have to spend all the little pieces, chunks of time throughout the day talking about logistics and feel like all you do is talking about logistics. So I highly recommend this to anyone, to just sit down. I don't know what your family's needs are, but come up with a structure that will help you guys communicate better. We are social creatures, so social life is extremely important. I was stuck at home for so long because I was overly obsessed with my baby's nap schedules. Looking back, I really wish I had learned earlier the many ways I can bring him into my life. Things that I do on a regular basis are going to the store, just getting grocery done, doing library play, going to indoor pools and having play dates, dropping him off at a childcare for a regular few hours a week. It was so good for my mental health once I started getting out, meeting other new moms, or just having random chit-chats with strangers at the grocery store. It pulls me out of the unnecessary fixation on details that don't even matter. I know how stressful it can be for new moms to go out, but trust me, it really pays off. And in the last 2 months, I'm also starting to realize how important it is to have a variety in your social circle. Let's just talk about mom friends. It is very important to have moms in your social circle that are going through similar stages as you, but it's also important to have moms that are much further down the road. And I'm talking about moms of teenagers or even grown-up adult children. Older moms have so much wisdom, and when they say things are gonna be okay, you believe it. They not only understand what new moms are going through, but the superpower that they have is that they're able to pull you out of your perspective and give you a bird's eye view, and you will get a much healthier perspective on what you're going through, no matter how hard it is. The last lesson I'll be sharing today is a clarifying point that I feel like I must make after talking about rituals and routines, is that being flexible is so important. Rituals are not against flexibility, they're for flexibility. The first year had taught me that I really am not in control, and motherhood really forces me to confront some of my deepest fear and insecurities. This period is just packed with changes back to back. As soon as you're comfortable at one stage, your baby has moved on to the next stage. As soon as you're good with this nap schedule, they started dropping a nap. And so often I feel like there's just no break. But once I begin to accept that this is just the nature of my life now and learning to go with the flow, the freedom is so sweet. I am not going back. It is so scary and uncomfortable in the beginning to let go of control, but being flexible is so much joy that I wish this blessing on any mama. What it practically looks like for me these days is that I keep educating myself. I work on understanding my baby's developmental stages, and I try to meet him where he was at. Instead of trying to maximize the amount of chores I could do, I always try to make sure I have some intentional one-on-one time with him, where I do some simple activities that help him grow and exercise. I also had to cut down on expectations on how much I can get done. Seriously, I recommend cutting some corners, building some system to help you work less. Just don't give yourself any reason to resent your child. I had to learn to see Zion as a human worthy of all of my respect. He's an image bearer of God. He's a gift from God, instead of the reason that my laundry is piling up. The chores are temporary, but my relationship with my baby has eternal value. It's about a legacy. It is generational. So every day I have to go back to what is actually important that I must prioritize, and that requires flexibility at every turn. In conclusion, I know I said this way too many times in this video, but truly, children are gifts. They need us to make room in life for them, to reorient our priorities, and they often bring out the parts of us that we didn't know exist, the good and the bad. And God knows we need something bigger than ourselves to be made new again. I really hope that you feel encouraged watching this video, and I hope there are some helpful takeaways for you to start implementing or adapt to your own specific needs. If you are about to enter motherhood, be sure to check out my baby registry regret videos that'll hopefully give you some inspirations for your preparation process. If you enjoyed this video at all, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to stay updated on new videos. Love you mamas, you are doing great.